Hello, everyone. In this video, we're going to use our process data table to make our linearized graph. Okay, so this is the information we need, and now we can make our linearized graph. And here's how we're going to do that. Again, we're going to use a scatter plot, and we're going to plot the relevant data here. And what I'll do is I'll misplot my original data and then show you how I might adjust it if needed. So I'm going to insert a scatter plot of the wrong data here just to show you. So this is actually the wrong data. And what I'd like to plot is actually my height versus time squared rather than time. And now that I have this plot, I'm going to use select data. And in my y values, I'm going to select the data I actually want. That's the t squared values there. So that's what you would do if you wanted to change out the data. And then I'm going to click OK for now. And that will plot my t squared data rather than my t data. Okay, and this is what it looks like. And given that, I need to add the appropriate chart elements. So I'm going to add axis titles on my horizontal and vertical axis. And my axis title here for this vertical axis, notice that that is t squared. So I'm just going to grab this little bit right here and format that inside. And it should be the time squared or the average time squared. And my guess is if I fiddle around with this, I can make it be a superscript. And yep, that's right where this is. Okay, so I can make it be a superscript, and that way I get my nice square inside my axis label. So I'll try to do this for this other two as well. Be a little bit tricky. These are pretty small. Again, I'm just right-clicking on that, and I clicked on font, and then superscript here. I'm gonna click OK. And now I have my vertical axis labeled, and my horizontal axis is going to be my height in meters. Good. Now I have my data. Okay, and I'm going to make my chart a little bigger. And my chart will have the title, t squared. So maybe I can grab this formatting if we're lucky. So the average time squared versus the height. Okay. So maybe I'll just do H. So this is going to be my linearized graph, right? Then I want to change my marker styles as before and for the same reason. So I want a big ol' X, right? A large X here. And that'll look like this. And at that point, I have my data. Okay, now I want to add my error bars. Okay, my error bars on those horizontal error bars are going to be exactly the same as before. So I'm going to adjust my horizontal error bars. Notice my height data hasn't changed, and so my horizontal error bars should still be a fixed value of 0.02 meters. All right. And my vertical error bars, however, should be my error, my custom error on t squared. I'm going to drag my positive error bars in and drag my negative error bars in as well. And we should be good to go. All right, so here's my data. Right? Here's my data. One more thing, I can add grid lines as before to make things just a little easier to read if I'm reading them off the chart. Okay, this is most of what we need to do, but now we also need to deal with our best fit gradient line. And then in a separate video, because it's annoying and confusing, I'm going to show you how to make the maximum and minimum gradient lines as well. Okay, but first, our last sort of essential element here is a best fit trend line. This is a linearized graph, so we expect a line. And then I'm going to format this line so that it is a little cleaner. You know, I want it to be a little more solid, a little more obvious here, and maybe a fixed line. Okay, and I certainly want to show my equation. So just as before, I'm going to display the equation on the chart. Notice this is a linear equation here. As before, I'm going to try to increase my font so I can read it a little better. Adjust the background, okay, so that there's a solid fill here, and give myself a nice border. I'm also going to change my variables. So the variable on the y-axis is t squared. So let me just grab that here and copy it in. That's t squared. Oh, and it made it pretty small, so that's not ideal. All right, equals, and then I want it to be t squared here. So I will format that separately, I suppose. Edit data. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. I want to font and superscript. Great. And then my x-axis is in H. All right, it's H. Now, one thing to notice is that the default parameters on this give me a certain number of significant figures, but of course, my data doesn't necessarily justify that. So I can leave that if I want on the line, or I can round it off to sort of the appropriate number of significant figures reflecting my data. So I could round this off here. Notice that these values are editable. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to drag this equation, maybe make it just a little bit bigger onto the chart so I can see it clearly. Although we are not done, this is probably the most important piece of information because this gradient right here is going to be how I get my value for G.